Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Bithoulkas, and it's time for another episode of Is It Worth My Time? This time around, the movie Black Widow, the Marvel movie Black Widow, which is both out in theaters, and if you have Disney Plus, you can pay an extra $30 and watch it at home on Disney Plus, kind of like what I did. Before we get started here, let me take care of some business and we'll get down to it. If you like what you see here, like, share, and subscribe. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. Basically, YouTube takes the algorithms of all the stuff you've been watching, tries to master it as best as possible. One of the videos, my vast video library, and pops it up there just for you. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. Also, if you can, hit that like button and the share button as well. And if you want to know when I'm going to be on live again next, hit the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule up there. I change it out every week. Also, I have all the links to my social media on there. So Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. Also have my links to my pages here too. So my YouTube channel page, my Facebook page. And for those of you who still have Facebook, a Facebook group page where you guys can post stuff and chat amongst yourselves. All right. So the non-spoiler version of this movie. So it's an action movie, obviously. It's got some superhero stuff thrown in there. When does this take place? Because everyone kind of asks that, and this is an easy one that doesn't spoil anything. Takes place after Civil War, but before Winter Soldier. Is that right? No. No, excuse me. After Civil War is what it is. So after Civil War, or right after Civil War, pretty much. So there you go. That's when this takes place. So it's got its good comical moments. It's got it's got some good action to it as well. For me, as a Marvel movie, I would say this kind of falls in the middle of Marvel movies. It's not great, but it's not bad either. It's kind of someplace in the middle there is really what it is. It's got some good characters to it as well. I mean, you've seen the trailers for it already. Alexei, you have that. Yelena, Melina, you have all these things going on. If there's one thing I would say that I didn't like about this movie, it was this version of Taskmaster that they have. And I'll get into that into the spoiler version of it. That was pretty much the only thing I really didn't like about this. Everything else was good. I mean, the movie moved along at a good pace. It had its moments. The thing that was bothering me actually as I was watching it though is I was thinking this movie came too late. It came out too late. This movie could have come out, I would say pretty much right after Civil War. It could have come out right after Civil War and been a better movie, because it would have been in the scheme of things rather than coming out after, Endgame and coming out so late, I guess you could say. It was a very missed opportunity. So that's what I would say here. It was a missed opportunity on this one. So is it worth your time? Yes, it's worth your time if you're a fan of the Marvel movies and you want to see some good action. And it's funny too. It's got some good funny. David Harbour is great. Florence Pugh is great. Everyone's pretty good on this one. I mean, so it's not, like I said, it's not fantastic, but it's not bad either. Raymond says, as I feared, save for the post-credit scene, this was just a side mission that wasn't critical to the main story, but great nonetheless. Again, like I said, if they had done it right after Civil War, it would have been awesome. They would have fallen in line with everything, but they didn't. So that's where it kind of drops the ball. And I want to say thank you, Movie Fanobi, for the $3.99. I saw that earlier, but yeah. So with that said, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the movie from here on out. So if you haven't seen the movie, get the fuck out of here. No, I mean, go and watch it. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. All right. Yes. Okay. We understand that this is what's happening. Yes. Okay. All righty. So, there we go. I'm just gonna cut straight through it. The Taskmaster or Task Mistress, I guess you could say at this point, was kind of lame. I'm gonna say that right now, and actually a waste of a good actress. Olga, and I'm gonna mess up her last name, Kuryenko, was wasted uh, by just being underneath that hood. And who knows if it was her all that time? I mean, it was, you only saw her for the reveal, so I mean, it probably wasn't her all that time. And Taskmaster is supposed to be a mutant. He's supposed to have these abilities. And what makes Taskmaster good in the comics is he's a smartass. He's a guy that you want to punch his face in because he's such an asshole. Because he quips about everything and he complains about everything too. He's an asshole in the comics. But because he has this ability where he can mimic other people's movements to a T, um, no one can really touch him. People they can trick him into things. My favorite is in the comics, I think it was Spider-Man, where Spider-Man's making him do movements and all that kind of stuff to match him, and Taskmaster's like, I can fucking do this, and he's doing the movements, and Spider-Man tricks him into doing a backflip right in front of a truck. And he goes, ta-da, and bam, the truck hits him. And that made me fucking laugh in the comics when I was a kid. It still does today. But that's the Taskmaster that I know. And it kind of bothered me on this one. That's all it was. You didn't think it was worth the $30, Phil? Well, you can watch it again and again if you want to. So, I mean, some people have families at home and things like that where multiple people, $30 in the grand scheme of things is actually cheaper than actually going to the movies. So, and I agree with you, Jody. Olga should have had a different role. She really shouldn't have had a different role completely. Because that could have just gone to anybody unless she's going to be used for something else, which I have a feeling she's going to be. Before I get to talk about the whole end credit scene and all that stuff, which everyone I know wants to talk about and all that stuff, let's talk about a little bit about the movie too. So the whole thing with family and everything, I mean, they were together for 3 years, yet they bonded and everything. It was kind of nice. They did a good job of this. I loved Alexei, Red Guardian. And by the way, we even got a cameo by a mutant in the prison, Ursa Major. Ursa Major he can actually turn himself into a bear. He's a Russian mutant. And he's in the prison with Alexei when he's arm wrestling. And he's the one who gets his wrist broken by Red Guardian, by Alexei. So, yeah. And the whole time, Alexei talking about, fighting Captain America. And they're like, when was this? He goes, oh, late 80s, early 90s. And they're like, he was still in the ice by then, man. So I don't know who you fought, but it wasn't Captain America, which I thought was pretty funny. Philip says after rewatching it, you can see where Taskmaster's stuntman was. Yeah, well, you can tell by the body armor. I mean, the body armor is a man. So I was going to say my one thing that I didn't like about this was Taskmaster. There. So movie for nobody says I saw it in the theater. I don't think I would have paid $30. Okay. Yeah. Again, if you have people, I was actually going to have other people over and stuff like that, but that all kind of fell through. I still paid the $30 anyway because I'm not going to a movie theater right now. You got a Delta variant going on and a Lambda variant going on. Fuck that. I'm not going out there. Raymond says it would be time traveling Cap. It wouldn't be time traveling Cap. It was probably one of the people that they used to experiment on. So anyway, the other joy of this was Yelena. So Yelena, making fun of, Natasha's flip, when she jumps and drops down and does the hair flip kind of thing. And yes, everyone's talked about how ridiculous it is, but yeah, now they've kind of made it a joke kind of thing within the movie. That was a little bit of a bone of contention right there because now you're starting to make fun of your character who is supposed to be your main character in the movie, and you really probably shouldn't do that. So, action movies as spectacles right now, I think, are on their way out. I hate to say this, but unless you're having superheroes, you know, aliens, all that kind of stuff. Even you look back at the Tomorrow War. The Tomorrow War was fucking boring, and that was a 2.5 hour about action movie with aliens in it, and that was still boring. But that's because the subject matter was just boring as shit. Going back to this, I mean, the MacGuffin of the vials of anti-venom or whatever the fuck it is that's supposed to wake up the widows from their mind control thing. I think Mufino, you said it earlier that why didn't they use it in Budapest? Budapest. That's yes. The way Natasha said it was correct, not the way Mason said it. Is why didn't they use it then? Because otherwise there wouldn't be a movie. They need to get to the Red Room. They needed to, find out where it was so they can release in a bigger area, blah, 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 blah. So that's the reason why they didn't do it. But yeah, I mean, overall, it was a decent movie. It wasn't horribly bad. It wasn't great either by any. It was a middle of the road movie. It was a safe movie, and you can tell. And I'm going to say this right now. I can tell that Fahey really had control over this thing to make sure that he got as an even keel, middle of the road movie as possible. Because we all know that he's not a big fan of uh, women superheroes leading movies. TV shows, yes. Movies, no. So there you go. Raymond says posing jokes are already done in both Deadpools. Yeah, that was true. Jody says Yelena was poking fun at Natasha, yes, but I kind of look at it to be a sisterly jab sort of thing. You know how siblings like to, yeah, but it started to become meta after a while, Jody. Even when Natasha couldn't hear her when she landed, in the prison because they weren't on comms at that point. She goes, "See, that's what I mean," and it's like, well, duh, you know. Jody says, Dennis, it wasn't nearly as cringy as what certain naysayers were suggesting. I didn't think it was the greatest ever, but I had fun with it too. So I'm not saying it's bad. That's why I'm recommending it. I'm saying it's worth your time to see it, especially given the end credit scene. So now we don't know if Yelena blipped out during the blip. We don't know if she was gone, if she was the reason why Natasha. Remember Natasha now when she sacrificed herself, right? She told Clint, "You have a family to get back to," whereas she didn't think she did. So, yeah, that's that could be another motivation you could think for Nat to sacrifice herself the way she did. And by the way, someone actually went through all the Avengers movies after Civil War, and the vest that Yelena gives her, the one with all the pockets, she is wearing it in every single Avengers movie. So they already kind of put that in there. Yeah, that was kind of an interesting thing. I thought that was pretty funny. Philip says it was good popcorn money. Glad I only spent money on the popcorn. Okay. Jody says, well, sure. But I like to think that Yelena was warming up to the posing, chuckled a bit when she shuddered. I kind of like Yelena doing that, but sure, a bit meta. Yeah. Mufinobi says they shouldn't have had the lady part segment played for comedy. Yeah, that was actually kind of disturbing. That whole thing where they're talking about the forced hysterectomies and all that stuff. And I'm like, wow, so you guys are just going to go there and play that for comedy, huh? All right. Okay. Not the best of choices, but it was written by men. So there you go. The screenplay is written by men and it's directed by a woman. And by the way, the director hasn't directed a lot of stuff. So, like I said, I'm going back to Kevin Feige being controlling and what he said at the beginning of all this Avengers stuff, where people were asking for a Black Widow movie, and he was saying that a female action star cannot hold a movie, basically cannot lead a movie and will not make any money. So yeah. Um, Raymond says, "I'm still tired of the bad dad trope. I have at least, I have one of the best." Okay, yeah. Well, this he wasn't even a dad though. That's the whole thing. He was a father figure, and he wasn't even a bad father figure. Even he did try to do what he thought was right at the time, and even he got put in jail because of it. So there you go. Philip says the super cringy part is the biggest villain is the fake mom, not the fat man who dies, yet she is treated as a victim. Well, she's being forced. Philip, she even says that she was psychologically conditioned since she was a child because she was brought into that too. And so even though she was a genius, she could not fight, I guess, whatever she was told to do. That's what they were saying. And by the way, Melina, Vostokov in the comics becomes Iron Maiden, is what, and no, not the band Iron Maiden, but supervillain Iron Maiden. So let's go back to the end credit scene. So the end credit scene, it's now, we're caught up to Endgame. Nat is dead. She's in a grave. She is in a grave underneath a cherry blossom tree, which Dreykov said that that's where her mother was buried and her unknown grave and all that kind of stuff. And you have Yelena visiting there, and who comes and visits as well, but Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. And Yelena works for this woman, or AKA Madam Hydra, as I call her, because that's what she's known as the comics as well. And it looks like Contessa might be putting together the Dark Avengers. So she's already got US Agent. She's got Yelena working for her. So basically, she's got the variant Captain America. She's got the variant Black Widow. It looks, and she's sending Yelena out after Hawkeye for Natasha's death, which of course is going to lead into the Hawkeye series. We already know that that's going to happen. And with Clint focusing on Kate Bishop instead of his daughter, who we saw his daughter actually has the same abilities that Clint does. She's been working on it. I think his daughter is going to end up moving over into the Dark Avengers and becoming the Hawkeye variant, if you will. It's not going to be Kate Bishop, that's for sure. Because Kate, I think, is going to go over to the Young Avengers, is where she's going to go. And we might have Melina move over as well as Iron Maiden into the and that's just a speculation on that one. But yeah, we are building the Dark Avengers. So there's two different ways she could go. Was either Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts, because we have Thunderbolt Ross, of course, that is in this. And he becomes the Red Hulk at some point in time, most likely during the She-Hulk series. And if that happens, then we're going Thunderbolts route. They could be doing both Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers. We could be doing both. We don't know. So, yeah. Good pun, Raymond. The new Avengers of old Christine. Okay. Or you could say the Dark Avengers of old Christine. There you go. To be fair, they were doing it to make Red Guardian uncomfortable, but yeah, probably not something they should have played for laughs. Yeah, I agree with you. Jody says, I was hoping Red Guardian wasn't such a comic relief sort of character later on. I liked how he was introduced at the beginning. He was a bat. Yeah, my favorite scene in the movie, quite honestly, is a very simple scene. He's in the bedroom talking to Yelena when they're at Melina's place. And of course, the Red Room comes to get them. And he puts on the helmet. He's ready to fight. And he's like, and he gets shot with a tranq dart, just one. He goes, ha, they think Red Guardian can be stopped by that. And he brushes it off. And then like, he gets shot with, a whole bunch of them. And that one last one that goes and goes in. I fucking lost. I laughed my ass off. I thought that was fucking funny because then you knew he's going to go out. But it was just really just, a whole bunch of just shooting at him. And the last little one just and hits him. That just made me laugh. It really did. Jody says, Dennis, you think Dark Avengers more than Thunderbolts? I am. I am thinking more Dark Avengers more than Thunderbolts. So. Raymond says, yeah, how did Black Widow get away from all the army at the end? Did I miss something? No, she did not get away. She waited for Ross, and then she made a deal with Ross. Is what it was. So she actually talked about that, if I remember correctly, in Infinity War. Yeah, she did talk about that in Infinity War. So, because Cap ended up breaking everyone out of the raft. That's supposedly where she was going after Mason gave her the Quinjet. Was she was supposed to go and break her friends out of the raft. It was actually Cap that broke her out of the raft. And she had dyed her hair blonde. Yeah. So maybe that's, room for another movie there. Who knows, Raymond? But yeah. Wait, what kind of deal? So Ross was complicit and Widow's going on the run? I think so. I think he was. Yeah. Because there's no way she was going to get away, from him. I mean, yeah, so this version of Black Widow that they've done in the movies here is not the Black Widow of the comics, okay? The Black Widow in the comics is uber spooky ninja super spy, where she basically could have taken out that whole room of widows. She's the blueprint of what the widows are based on. And no one can touch her. That's supposed to be what she is in the comics. And they've kind of dumbed her down in the movies. And again, I go back and I blame Kevin Feige for this. Philip Ademic says they missed an opportunity to explain Red Guardian's incarceration. Red could have cited to Akuta to overthrow Boris Yeltsin. Then they basically said that what he was trying to do was he was trying to protect the girls. That was the reason why he got thrown in prison. He wanted leniency for the girls, and because Dreykov was basically a misogynist fucking pig. I mean, who even imprisoned his own daughter. He enslaved his own daughter and implanted a chip in her that he threw Alexei into prison as a result of it. That's pretty much what it comes down to. I mean, again, the script is bad in places there. And again, I say it's a movie about women that is written by men. Take what you will off of that. Raymond K. Hessel says, so is Valentina Hydra or something? Shouldn't Yelena know to look for signs of deception? She could have come back from the blip. We don't know. So there's a whole section missing in the time frame of Yelena. We don't know if she disappeared during the blip. And when she came back, she could have been looking for work or trying to survive. And that's where Contessa found her and put her to work. We don't know. And then lied to her about a whole bunch of shit, which is what Contessa does. And yes, Contessa is Hydra. Valentina, Contessa, whatever you want to call her. But she is Hydra. Hail Hydra. That never gets old. Raymond says, also, shouldn't Antonia be in her early 20s as she was a child when BE was an adult? Well, what do they say in Avengers when they were talking about how Nat switched sides for with Hawkeye? Is that it happened? I want to say it happened like 10 years before, something like that. So you figure roughly 15 years have passed since since she blew up that house. So Antonia would have been, yeah, she would have been in 25, somewhere around 25, maybe even 30, somewhere around there. Let's say she was 15 years old and 30. There you go, which actually works with Olga's age. So Philip says, I don't know that woman wrote most of the part, which doesn't make sense to. I don't understand what you're saying there, Philip. So again, yeah, it's worth your time. It's a fun movie. It's got its problems, like most movies do. Um, Taskmaster being the one for me. I mean, this wasn't Taskmaster. I want to see a proper Taskmaster. I want to see, um, a mutant. I want to see the just asshole Taskmaster is really what I want to see. So, and then who knows? Also, maybe Contessa is going to recruit Antonia as well and do it that way. We don't know. All right. So, what else do I have going on this week? Well, tomorrow is the season finale of Loki. Loki season finale tomorrow. Thursday, I'm going to be off. Friday is Star Wars The Bad Batch. Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off. Or take the genre news of the week and any genre stuff you guys want to talk about. We talk about it. Sunday, hopefully, I get to do spoiler alert. I had to cancel spoiler alert on Sunday because a little dog stepped on a bee. Actually, she was running through the soccer field and literally stepped on a bee. She stopped and looked at me and she held up her paw like this. And I was like, what the? And I looked at it and there was a bee stinger that was right there. And I pulled it out and her pad swelled up and that was it. So I was basically running around all day doing that. Monday I'll be off, and then Tuesday we roll back around again for Is It Worth My Time? I don't know what I'm doing as of yet, but I'll figure it out. Jody says, Dennis, any predictions for Loki season finale? Yeah, Kang. It's going to be raining Kang. And who knows, we might get multiple raining. That's what usually happens when it rains Kangs, is you get multiple Kangs. So yeah. Philip, no, I don't think that that was the case. I still say it was Fahey control on this movie that kind of messed things up. Quite honestly, I'm just gonna stick with that until proven otherwise. Yeah, I mean, you really could have done a lot with this, and they kind of really played it safe on most aspects of it. And it could have been better. It really could have. And also just the timing sucked. They could have brought this out so much earlier. They could have done this movie years ago and still had a better movie out of it, and they didn't. Also, I want to say I forgot there was Yelena calls Alexei Crimson Dynamo. Crimson Dynamo is the Russian hero that actually takes over Red Guardian's job in the comics for the Soviets at the time. He gets retired essentially. Red Guardian gets retired, and Crimson Dynamo is the one that takes him over. So her calling him Crimson Dynamo is both a slight for comic book fans to get, but also just her kind of dismissing him by not remembering what his name is, because we don't know if that person actually exists in the MCU or not, which made me laugh as well. That was a nice little Easter egg for comic book fans in there. Raymond says, favorite part of the movie, I thought it was the lame Thought it was lame they pulled a Point Break parachute scene at the end. Um, yeah, so the way Yelena kills the Dreykov, I thought was kind of stupid, and it just seemed kind of rush. It's like, and he dies in the helicopter, you know, and she's falling, she knocks herself out, she's falling, but Natasha jumps off with a parachute and is able to get to her in time and wrap her in the parachute. And they, yeah. All right, sure, sounds good. And they don't get hit by any of the debris coming down from the Red Room falling, which is conveniently falling in a large open field, which is good because you don't want it to be over a populated area. Well, the prison escape was Chef's kiss. I mean, I liked that. It was kind of a callback to Winter Soldier, actually, is what that was. And I did like that callback to Winter Soldier with her removing the mask thing. And I liked that. That was good. Philip Ademic says Kevin did all the stunts at MX years ago. Then the token writer director came in and screwed. What? I've never heard that. This movie wasn't made years ago. It really wasn't. I mean, he was fighting tooth and nail, Kevin Feige, and not wanting to actually do a Black Widow movie. So, yeah. Anyway, with that said, go and watch it. It's worth your time, whether you go and see it in the theater or you want to wait until, if you have Disney Plus, October 6th is the free day for that. That's when it becomes free on Disney Plus. You don't need to pay the extra $30. So there you go. You got a couple of months to wait. What is that? 3 months? Somewhere around there. Yeah. I did the same thing with Raya and the Last Dragon, which actually was a damn good movie, I have to admit. Carl Jenkins says Captain Marvel is better than Black Widow in the comics or in the movies, because no to both. Yeah, that Captain Marvel movie was a mess. Raymond says at least we know Black Widow got a funeral that we never saw. True. But we don't know, though, if that was an actual grave or a like a filled grave, or if it was just an empty grave. We don't know what it was. You say the Captain Marvel movie was better than Black Widow? To each their own, Carl. To each their own. I was not a fan of the Captain Marvel movie. All right. So Raymond says the real mystery is how in the hell Rachel Weisz still looks this good. I actually didn't recognize. I have to admit, Raymond, I didn't recognize her at first. Oh, and by the way, if you take a look when she opens up the armory in the back, her Iron Maiden helmet is back on the wall back there too. So they did give a little Easter egg to Iron Maiden in there, which I thought was cool. But yeah, I didn't recognize her at first because I haven't watched any movies that she's been in recently. And I've seen the aging. I mean, shit. I mean, I know what it's like too. But yeah, it took me a second to kind of register. So she has aged. Although she's aging well. Yes, we all age, so it happens. Philip A. Demick says Raya has some amazing legs at the theater. I'll give it that. I'm still bitter over the ripoff of the Avatar. Okay. Tom Cruise stunt double in the movie Edge of Tomorrow is Taskmaster. Oh, okay. That would make sense. Yeah. Well, yeah, considering that Tom Cruise is what, like 5 foot, no, 5'1", 5'2", somewhere around there. He's tiny. And Olga's actually, she's not a small woman. I mean, she is tall. So I'm kind of surprised they used a small stuntman. Well, I guess maybe they make him slim. Yeah, okay, that'll work. Casey O'Neill accrues his stunt double and takes over for the actor when he becomes okay, which is like never because Cruise will refuse to give up. Yeah, Tom does all his own stunts to the point where they're like, "No, don't do it, man." Anyway, with that said, I'm going to let you guys go for the rest of the night. Thank you to everybody who joined me tonight in the chat, and thank you if you made it this far in the video. If you're still on the fence about subscribing, take a look at the video that pops up at the very end here. And if you like what you see there, hit that subscribe button down below there. Also, if you can, hit that like button and the share button down below. And if you want to know when I'm be on live again next, you get the bell down below. It's a 50-50 chance of YouTube actually notifying you. Best thing to do is go to suspendedfanimation.com. Take a look at the schedule I have up there. Also, all my social media links are up there, and the links to all my pages are up there as well. Thank you, everybody. Oh, she's actually better, Raymond. Thank you. She's actually laying right here. It was a Benadryl that I gave her. That's what the vet told me to do. So before I go, the vet wanted like 200 some odd dollars to bring her in, give her a shot of Benadryl, and watch her overnight. And I was like, or they said, just give her a Benadryl and find out what's going to happen. I was like, yeah, that's the cheaper option and also the easiest option because I was pretty sure she was just a little bee sting on the paw. That's all it was. Sure enough, she was fine within a couple hours. She slept because of the Benadryl and everything was good. So, with that said, thank you, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow for Loki. Until then, don't let your door don't let the door hit you guys on the way out. Otherwise, the Red Room might come for you and just hit you with a bunch of tranquilizers because they're assholes that way. Thanks, everybody. I will see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, be well, take care, wear those masks, get those vaccines, and yeah, be safe out there. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a good night.